Horse Bytes is presented by Caval, the equestrian edit. Welcome to Horse Bytes, your go-to source for keeping up with the show jumping world. Well, it was certainly a week filled with tremendous excitement as the Games in Paris came to a close yesterday. As someone who has represented their country at the Games, I can tell you everyone's experience is filled with mixed emotions. And I must say, I feel similar this time around, as we saw the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, with perhaps more heartbreak than triumph throughout the week. But despite it all, show jumping gave us 12 individual medal winners, a team competition filled with superb substitutions, Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg donning equestrian apparel, world number one Henrik von Eckermann falling off with the defending champion Swedes walking away empty-handed, exceptional course building despite the plain and boring jumps themselves, utter German and British domination across the disciplines with 3 individual golds and 2 team golds and a team bronze respectively, some incredible performances and some absolutely wild mistakes, but in traditional games format, the best truly shined on the day. In an unpopular opinion, I'm sure, the 3-man format for the teams provided exceptional sport and entertainment for the spectators that was easy to follow and exciting till the very last performance of Scott Brash as he clinched gold for the Brits. And despite a lot of negative press going in regarding horse welfare, the resilience of horse sport shone through as we saw beautiful, powerful, thrilling performances across the disciplines, marred by 0 examples of anything but exemplary behavior from both athletes and official stewards who upheld the stringent rules of our sport and let its brilliance shine through. By now, most of you know the medal winners, but let's give you a full rundown of what happened. Let's start out with the team competition, or shall we call it the team competition of super subs, since the individual substitutes shined exceptionally bright. The Dutch saw their only female representative, Kim Emmen, come in for Willem Greve and break up the old boys club. Carl Cook subbed out Ken Farrington in a last-minute shock entrance the morning of, after having no intention of jumping. Olivier Perrault swapped out Kevin Stow for the home nation after a failed vet inspection at the first jog, and even Ben Mayer made a last-minute horse substitution, switching out Point Break for Dallas Vegas Bati. The changes all proved successful after every single one of them put in a clear performance on day one. Federico Fernandez also came in to support the Mexican team after Andres Azcárraga's horse also failed the vet inspection but proved invaluable, helping them qualify for the team final, only to have to withdraw the following morning due to Carlos Hank's horse having sustained an injury, and without an alternate to swap in, the Mexicans were forced to forfeit any chances of a medal during the team final. The team qualifier saw a fair first-round course, weeding out the weaker teams, but with a difficult opening round for Steve Gerda of Switzerland, putting the Swiss in a precarious position, and after a late pole from Martin Fuchs, we saw a shock ejection of them from the final. And after a blood rule infraction of Pedro Vinícius for Brazil, which saw him wiping the sides of his horse as he exited the ring, perhaps knowing it was coming, the Brazilians' hope of a medal was wiped out early on as well. The Swedes had a strong start with 2 clears to get them started, but with Peter Fredriksson having an uncharacteristic run out with his longtime partner at the wall, the Swedes had to settle on 17 penalties, which put them dangerously close to not qualifying for the final. Luckily, the faults didn't carry forward to the team final, but with solid performances marred by 4 fault-itis on day 2, the Swedes had to settle for 6th place overall. The typical unluck of the Irish saw them falter once again. Despite heading into the final as favorites with a 20% win chance, a whistle down the last line distracted Shane Sweetnam and caused a fault at the final fence, and the usually cool as a cucumber Cian O'Connor was unable to pilot his green mount of Maurice to a clear, leaving them in 7th place overall. After an exceptional double clear from France's substitute rider Olivier Perrault put the French in strong contention for a medal, and a clutch clear round from Julian Bayard, the home nation eventually finished with the bronze, just 1 time vault ahead of the Dutch, who had to settle off the podium for 4th. The U.S. saw their only double clear from Carl Cook, who seized his first Olympic appearance and unexpected entrance on the team to help the U.S. secure the silver for the 2nd Games in a row. With a high-pressure clear from McLean Ward and solid performances from veteran Laura Kraut, the U.S. did what it set out to do and walked home with yet another medal. But it was the Brits who came in on only a 6% win chance. A last-minute horse swap for Ben Mayer, a fractured wrist of young gun Harry Charles just 5 weeks before the games, and a strong desire to redeem themselves after missing out on a team medal in Tokyo, who proved the best on the day as the only team to produce 3 clear jumping rounds. They did finish on a 2-time fault overall, but the ice running through his veins, Scott Brash put on a masterclass of performing under pressure to secure the gold for the Brits. A nice full circle moment for the team as they last won gold in London, with both Ben and Scott getting the repeat and their teammate Peter Charles's son Harry helping them to win this time around. And then on to the individual competition, or shall we say the Heartbreak and Heroes competition. The qualifier saw a few substitutions from the team riders, and of course the remaining 14 individual nations represented. Niall Nasser of Egypt bowed out before the start of competition as his horse sustained an injury. Ken Farrington missed out entirely on the games due to what the U.S. called an allergy issue with his horse. Tiffany Foster was subbed in for Amy Miller for Canada. Israel switched out Isabella Rusakov for Ashley Bond after a poor performance in the team competition. Andres Escarraga, whose horse failed the first horse inspection, was allowed to represent and came in for Carlos Hank's horse, who never recovered from an injury sustained during day 1 of the teams. And Kevin Stout never represented, despite some speculation that he might still try for an individual spot after failing the vet check for the teams. The qualifier round was fair, but challenging and saw 20 clear rounds. The time wasn't an issue in either of the individual rounds after proving a big decider in the team competitions. The triple came late in the course and proved particularly challenging directly away from the gate. The solid plank obstacle with the pole on the top in the far corner of the ring was tricky for many riders as it was difficult to get a good shot at, and the final fence proved heartbreak for a few as well. The heartbreak didn't end there, however, as reigning 2-time silver medalist Peter Fredriksson was out with 2 down near the end of the course. Richie Vogel, a fan favorite and on many people's predictions list, had 3 down. McLean found heartbreak at the final fence. Daniel Blumen had the weight of Israel on his shoulders as their last hope for a medal, but after a fault in the triple saw him try to be clever to the spooky wall, a run out ended their chances. And Sweden's Rolf Jorn Bankston didn't realize he had a fault in the triple, so his slow 4-fault round put him out of the top 30. Then came the individual final, perhaps the most emotional and wild day of show jumping any of us has seen in a long time. Now, I wouldn't expect anything less from a games medal deciding competition, but boy, did it not disappoint. With one of the most demanding courses I've ever seen, with 15 numbered obstacles, 19 jumping efforts, a fair time allowed, not a moment to breathe, with almost everything as a related distance, jumps set at meter 65, and a test of scope, rideability, and stamina, Gregory Baudot was perhaps the real hero of the games, producing the perfect result as 3 would eventually jump off for the medals. After an early morning announcement that Harry Charles's Romeo was out with an injury, the excitement of the day was just getting started. The most shocking of events was world number 1 and gold medal favorite Henrik von Eckermann's run ending midway around after he was ejected from the wonderful King Edward at the edge of the arena. After what proved to clearly be a very tough week for the Swede, who made a series of unforced errors throughout the 4 rounds of jumping, a last-minute decision caused a funky jump at the plank, which snowballed into a big push to the oxer at number 8, then a left-right-left shift on landing, unseating Henrik and causing King Edward to panic a bit. The 2 parted ways directly in front of the King of Sweden, ending their dream of gold. We saw Laura Kraut make a rider error to the last, Carl Cook crying and distraught as he exited after having made a last-minute decision to the red double, Escarraga fall off at the water, Gregory Wathelet have a miscommunication to the water with James Bond, the Irish falter yet again and miss out on any medals. Epayard with a super unlucky late fault to end France's last hope for a home win. But perhaps the award for greatest effort of the championships goes to Martin Fuchs and Leonie J., who lost their stirrup and a shoe at fence 5B, almost fell off. Then Martin proceeded to jump the entire round without ever regaining his equipment, only to have the final fence down for utter heartbreak and disappointment as the Swiss rider had to go home empty-handed. It was a feat of grit and determination reserved for the most extraordinary of performances and a true competitor. Hats off to you, Mr. Fuchs. If I were him, I'd be throwing out my stirrups and investing in some on-tights ASAP. But the heroes of the day were truly our medal winners. 3 exceptional rounds ridden by 3 exceptional horses and riders. Michael van der Vleuten proving he's one of our sport's greatest talents, having produced yet again another individual medal with his unassuming partner Beauville Zed. Steve Gerda, who wins Sportsman of the Week after publicly blaming himself for poor preparation in the team competition, to returning in the individual and triumphing like the superstar he is. Putting in exceptional rides and helping his horse overcome insecurities, Steve had the quote of the week when he said he planned to enjoy this silver that I won and not think about the gold that I lost, after having one down in the jump off to finish second. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is sportsmanship and an attitude we should all aspire to. But of course, it was really Christian Kuckuck's day as he piloted Checker 47 to the only double clear and the gold medal. After approaching number 1 off the left reverse turn, reminiscent of Jeroen Dubbeldam's counter canter to win the gold at Europeans in Aachen a few years back, Christian piloted his exceptional partner to a fast, efficient jump-off round, putting the pressure on those to follow. He said afterwards he felt zero pressure going in, as he already knew he'd won a medal and was already ecstatic with the result, regardless of the eventual outcome. Well, the outcome was as good as it gets, and his performance will go down into the history books as he claimed the title of gold medalist at the Games. In the end, we saw incomparable sport, exceptional course building with the ideal outcome. All horses walked away with a positive experience with no major hiccups to speak of. An electric, engaged, and enthusiastic crowd who saw top sport, a few underdogs excel under immense pressure and prove to themselves and their nations that they are worthy of our respect. And after having mixed emotions about the Games myself from my own experiences, I'm left feeling only love for the animals that make our dreams come true. Thank you to our equine partners, for it is because of you that weeks like this are possible for all that love horse sport. And now, let's take a look back at the newly crowned medal winners.
It really doesn't matter too much. He's got it for time is all that counts against them. And Great Britain.
That's a wrap on the Games in Paris. It was a truly spectacular display of sport, and I hope you guys feel as invigorated as I do. Stay tuned to all of our socials. Make sure to subscribe and follow along all the action as it unfolds here on Horse Bytes, your go-to source for keeping up with the show jumping world.